The vast expanse of space held countless secrets, but none more intriguing than the small blue planet tucked away in an unremarkable spiral arm of the galaxy. Earth, a world so insignificant that most advanced civilizations would have passed it by without a second glance, yet something about this planet defied conventional understanding. In the grand archives of the Galactic Confederation, Earth was nothing more than a digital footnote. Classification: pre-spaceflight civilization. Potential: minimal. Threat level: non-existent. The massive data crystals housing information about thousands of species barely flickered when human data streams were processed. Zarek, a junior xenoanalyst with an uncommon sense of curiosity, found himself drawn to these seemingly mundane data packets. While his colleagues sorted through more important civilizational studies, he developed an almost obsessive interest in the human data streams. Something about their information patterns felt different, chaotic, yet strangely harmonious. The first indication that humans might be extraordinary came through their global communication network. Unlike other developing species that maintained rigid information hierarchies, humans created a web of communication that seemed to defy all logical structures. Their internet was a living, breathing ecosystem of knowledge, where a farmer in rural Argentina could instantly share insights with a researcher in Tokyo, and a teenager's viral video could reshape global conversations within hours. Zarek's monitoring systems captured remarkable moments of human potential. He watched as they responded to global challenges with a combination of technological innovation and collective problem-solving that seemed to emerge from nowhere. When natural disasters struck, communities would spontaneously organize relief efforts. During technological challenges, individuals from completely different backgrounds would collaboratively develop solutions that surprised even their own experts. The Confederation's standard assessment protocols completely failed to capture the human essence. Traditional xenological models suggested that a species at this technological stage should be focused on internal conflicts, resource competition, and basic survival. Instead, humans demonstrated an almost contradictory nature. They could develop weapons of unprecedented destructive capability and simultaneously create intricate medical technologies that saved millions of lives. Their scientific progress defied all expected patterns. While most developing species followed a linear path of technological advancement, humans seemed to leap forward in unexpected bursts. A breakthrough in quantum computing might emerge from a collaboration between a neuroscientist, a quantum physicist, and an artist, a combination that would be considered absurd in any other known civilization. Cultural diversity became another point of fascination. Where most advanced species had long ago homogenized their societies, humans celebrated their differences. Languages, traditions, and belief systems that should have been divisive instead became sources of strength and innovation. A solution to a complex environmental challenge might draw equally from indigenous knowledge and cutting-edge scientific research. The monitoring systems captured moments that would have been dismissed as anomalies by less patient observers. A global pandemic that threatened to devastate human populations instead became a catalyst for unprecedented cooperation. Medical researchers shared information across borders. Technology companies rapidly developed solutions, and communities supported each other in ways that defied traditional survival strategies. Zarek began compiling a comprehensive report that would eventually become legendary within xenological circles. His detailed analysis suggested something revolutionary. Humans were not just another developing species. They were a potential paradigm shift in understanding civilization, technology, and collective potential. The most fascinating aspect was their adaptability. Traditional galactic models suggested that species developed technological capabilities through predictable stages. Humans seemed to rewrite those rules constantly. They would face a seemingly insurmountable challenge, and then create solutions that appeared to emerge from pure creativity and collective will. Communication technologies provided the most compelling evidence. While most species developed hierarchical communication networks, humans created something more organic. Their information systems were less about control and more about connection. A single individual could potentially access and share knowledge that could transform entire fields of study. As the Galactic Confederation continued its routine monitoring, none of their leadership understood the significance of the data streams coming from Earth. They saw numbers, statistics, and technological markers that suggested a primitive civilization. What they missed was the potential of a species that could transform challenge into opportunity, difference into strength, and limitation into innovation. Zarek knew something his colleagues did not. This small blue planet was not just another entry in the vast galactic archives. It was a brewing storm of potential, a civilization on the cusp of something extraordinary. And no standard assessment protocol could capture the true nature of what was about to unfold. The complexity of human potential continued to unfold in ways that defied every established sinological model. Zarek's research delved deeper, revealing a species that existed in a constant state of dynamic transformation. Each data stream became a window into a world of unprecedented adaptability and collective creativity. Global challenges became the crucible where human potential was forged. When environmental pressures mounted, humans responded with a symphony of innovation that left the Galactic Confederation's analysts bewildered. A drought in one region would spark collaborative efforts that merged traditional agricultural knowledge with cutting-edge climate technologies. Farmers, scientists, local communities, and technology developers would converge, creating solutions that seemed to emerge from a collective intelligence. The most striking characteristic was their ability to find connection in apparent chaos. Where other species would fracture under complexity, humans found unity. A breakthrough in medical research might originate from an unexpected collaboration between a marine biologist, a computer engineer, and a cultural anthropologist. Their approach to problem-solving ignored traditional disciplinary boundaries, creating a fluid intelligence that defied categorization. Zarek's monitoring systems captured moments of extraordinary human synchronization. During a global health crisis, researchers from competing institutions and different countries instantaneously shared critical data. Technology platforms became conduits of collaborative intelligence, breaking down barriers that would have been insurmountable for any other known civilization. What should have been a time of isolation became a moment of unprecedented global cooperation. The economic systems of humans provided another fascinating study. Unlike the rigid, hierarchical economic models of most advanced civilizations, human economic interactions displayed a remarkable fluidity. Small innovations could rapidly scale, transforming entire industries overnight. A single technological breakthrough could emerge from a garage workshop, challenging established corporate structures and creating entirely new economic paradigms. Cultural diversity emerged as a profound source of strength. Where most advanced species had long ago homogenized their societies, humans celebrated their differences as a source of innovation. Languages, traditions, and belief systems that should have been divisive instead became catalysts for creative problem-solving. A technological solution might draw equally from indigenous knowledge and advanced scientific research, creating approaches that were simultaneously ancient and futuristic. The digital ecosystem of human communication defied all standard analytical models. Their internet was not just a communication network, but a living, breathing organism of collective intelligence. Information flowed with an organic complexity that seemed to have its own form of intelligence. A piece of knowledge could emerge from a remote community and within hours become a global catalyst for change. Educational systems revealed another layer of human potential. Unlike the structured, hierarchical learning models of most advanced species, humans created learning environments that celebrated individual creativity and collective exploration. Students were not just recipients of knowledge, but active participants in its creation. An academic paper might emerge from a collaborative project that spanned continents, disciplines, and cultural backgrounds. Technological development followed no predictable pattern. Humans would simultaneously develop technologies of incredible sophistication and maintain deep connections to their biological and cultural origins. A spacecraft design might draw inspiration from the wing structures of ancient flying creatures. A medical breakthrough could emerge from understanding traditional healing practices. The most profound insight came from understanding human resilience. Challenges that would completely destabilize other species became opportunities for growth and transformation. Economic disruptions, environmental challenges, and global health crises were met with a combination of technological innovation, social creativity, and collective determination that seemed to defy logical explanation. Artificial intelligence development provided another remarkable case study, where most civilizations approached AI as a linear technological progression. Humans created approaches that integrated technological capability with ethical considerations, emotional intelligence, and a deep understanding of collective human experience. Their AI systems were not just tools but potential partners in collective problem-solving. Climate adaptation became a testament to human potential. Faced with potentially civilization-ending environmental challenges, humans responded with a multidimensional approach that combined technological innovation, social restructuring, and a profound reimagining of their relationship with their planetary ecosystem. Technological solutions merged with cultural transformation, creating adaptive strategies that went beyond simple survival. As Zarek compiled his research, he understood he was documenting something far more significant than a simple species study. Humans were not just developing technology or solving challenges. They were rewriting the fundamental understanding of collective potential, of the relationship between technology, culture, and collective intelligence. The Galactic Confederation continued its routine monitoring, completely unaware of the extraordinary potential developing on this small blue planet. But Zarek knew. This was not just another developing civilization. This was a fundamental reimagining of what intelligent life could be, a brewing storm of potential that would soon reshape everything they understood about progress, innovation, and collective capability. The Galactic Confederation's leadership grew increasingly intrigued by the anomalous data streams from Earth. What began as routine monitoring had transformed into a complex investigation that challenged every established protocol of species assessment. A decision was made to conduct a subtle test, a technological probe designed to expose the limits of human capabilities. The challenge was meticulously crafted. A sophisticated network disruption would be introduced into human technological systems, carefully calibrated to create maximum complexity with minimal direct intervention. Previous encounters with developing civilizations had shown that such a challenge would typically expose fundamental weaknesses in technological infrastructure, revealing the true potential of a species. Zarek watched with a mixture of professional curiosity and a growing sense of anticipation. His comprehensive research had suggested that humans might respond differently, but even he could not fully predict the extent of their adaptive capabilities. The monitoring systems hummed with activity, preparing to capture every nuanced response to the impending technological challenge. The probe was released into human communication networks with surgical precision. It was designed to create cascading failures across multiple technological platforms, energy grids, communication systems, financial networks, and transportation infrastructures. The complexity of the intervention was unprecedented, a digital labyrinth meant to expose and exploit any systemic vulnerabilities. Initial observations suggested the probe was working perfectly. Communication networks began to show signs of disruption. Financial systems experienced unexpected volatility. Transportation grids started to experience unexplained interference. Any other developing civilization would have been brought to its knees by such a comprehensive technological challenge. But humans were not any other civilization. The response was nothing short of extraordinary. Instead of panic or systemic collapse, human networks began to adapt with a speed and creativity that defied all established technological models. Where the probe created a barrier, humans found multiple pathways around it. Communication systems that should have been completely disrupted began to reorganize themselves, finding alternative routes and methods of information exchange. Local communities became unexpected centers of resilience. When digital communication channels were compromised, humans rapidly developed alternative communication methods. Amateur radio networks sprang up. Community organizations created manual information sharing systems. What should have been a moment of technological vulnerability became a demonstration of remarkable collective adaptability. Technology developers across the globe began to collaborate in ways that completely undermined the probe's strategic design. Open-source communities shared real-time solutions. Individuals from different technological backgrounds came together, creating adaptive algorithms that could navigate and neutralize the digital disruption. The probe's carefully constructed barriers became opportunities for innovation. Financial systems demonstrated an equally remarkable resilience. Instead of collapsing under the technological stress, human economic networks began to develop alternative transaction methods. Cryptocurrency platforms, local exchange systems, and community-based economic solutions emerged with remarkable speed. What was meant to be a system of control became a catalyst for economic innovation. Energy infrastructure revealed perhaps the most surprising response. When central power systems experienced interference, local communities rapidly developed alternative energy solutions. Solar installations, wind energy systems, and community-based power generation came online with unprecedented speed. The technological challenge became an opportunity for decentralized energy innovation. Transportation networks told a similar story. As digital navigation systems experienced disruption, humans quickly developed alternative routing methods. Community-based transportation networks emerged. Bicycle systems, shared transportation methods, and localized movement strategies demonstrated a level of adaptive thinking that completely confounded the original technological probe. Xarix monitoring systems captured every moment of this extraordinary response. What had been designed as a method of exposure had transformed into the most comprehensive demonstration of human potential yet observed. The probe was not just neutralized, it had been completely repurposed into a catalyst for innovation. The most profound insight came from understanding the human approach to challenge. Where most species would view such a technological disruption as a threat, humans saw an opportunity. Each barrier became a chance for creative problem-solving. Each systemic challenge became a moment of collective innovation. As the final data streams were compiled, the true nature of the test became clear. This was not a moment of technological vulnerability. This was a demonstration of a species that had developed a form of collective intelligence that transcended traditional technological understanding. Humans did not just respond to challenges, they transformed them. The Galactic Confederation's leadership would receive a report that would challenge everything they understood about technological development. Xarix knew that this was more than a simple species assessment. This was evidence of a fundamental shift in understanding what intelligent life could be, a brewing storm of potential that would soon reshape the very concept of technological progress. The corridors of the Galactic Confederation's Central Research Complex buzzed with unprecedented tension. Xarix's comprehensive report on human potential had become the most controversial document in recent sinological history. What had begun as a routine species assessment had transformed into a fundamental challenge to everything the Confederation understood about technological and societal development. Senior researchers gathered in the holographic conference chamber, each projection displaying a mixture of skepticism, curiosity, and growing concern. The data was irrefutable, yet it defied every established model of civilizational progression. Humans had not just survived the technological challenge, they had transformed it into an opportunity for collective innovation that seemed to border on the miraculous. Commander Vexnell, head of the Xenological Assessment Division, stood at the center of the holographic display. His tentacle-like appendages moved with agitated precision as he reviewed Xarix's research. This cannot be a complete representation, he argued, his universal translator rendering his words with a mix of frustration and disbelief. No developing species demonstrates this level of adaptive capability. The youngest members of the research team found themselves divided. A group of junior analysts saw the human data as the most exciting discovery in generations. They argued that humans represented a completely new model of intelligent development, a species that didn't just adapt to challenges, but actively transformed them. Senior leadership took a more cautious approach. Some advocated for immediate intervention, believing that such an unpredictable species posed a potential threat to galactic stability. Others, including a small but vocal minority, suggested a more nuanced approach of continued observation and careful analysis. Zarek found himself at the center of this growing storm. His detailed research had transformed him from a junior xenoanalyst to a controversial figure within the Confederation's research circles. Colleagues who had previously dismissed his work now sought his insights, though many still viewed his conclusions with significant skepticism. The most contentious debate centered on human potential for technological development. Traditional galactic models suggested that species followed predictable paths of technological progression. Humans seemed to completely disregard these established patterns. They would develop incredibly sophisticated technologies in one area while maintaining deep connections to more traditional forms of knowledge. Political strategists began to develop increasingly complex scenarios. What would happen if humans continued their current trajectory of development? Their ability to rapidly innovate, to transform challenges into opportunities, suggested a species that could potentially challenge existing galactic power structures. Communication networks within the Confederation became flooded with analysis, counter-analysis, and heated debates. Zarek's research had done more than just describe a developing species. It had created a fundamental philosophical challenge to how intelligent life was understood. The most radical proposal came from an unexpected source. A senior strategic analyst suggested that humans might represent a completely new form of collective intelligence. Their ability to rapidly collaborate, to create solutions that transcended traditional disciplinary and cultural boundaries, suggested something beyond traditional understanding of technological development. Surveillance protocols were immediately enhanced. Every data stream from Earth became a subject of intense scrutiny. The technological challenge had revealed something far more significant than a simple test of capabilities. Humans had demonstrated an ability to transform systemic challenges into opportunities for collective growth. Commander Vexnell ultimately recommended a two-pronged approach. The first strategy involved continued detailed observation. The second, more controversial recommendation suggested preparing potential intervention strategies. The unpredictability of human development had become both their most fascinating and most concerning characteristic. Zarek understood the larger implications of the debate. This was more than a discussion about a single species. This was a fundamental challenge to how the Galactic Confederation understood intelligence, technological development, and the potential for collective progress. As the debates continued, no one noticed the subtle changes in human data streams. Each moment of observation revealed new layers of complexity. Humans continued to develop, to innovate, to collaborate in ways that defied every established understanding of civilizational progression. The Galactic Confederation stood at a crucial moment of decision. Would they view humans as a potential threat to be controlled? Or would they recognize the extraordinary potential of a species that seemed to rewrite the very understanding of collective intelligence? Zarek knew the answer would reshape everything. This was not just about understanding one species. This was about understanding the fundamental nature of progress, innovation, and the extraordinary potential of collective intelligence. The first wave of Krellnax battle groups entered Earth's solar system with calculated precision. Massive technological constructs designed for interstellar conquest moved with the cold efficiency of a civilization that had subjugated countless species. Their sensors mapped potential invasion points, their weapon systems calibrated to neutralize any potential resistance with overwhelming force. Zarek watched the invasion preparations with a growing sense of profound unease. His research had suggested something extraordinary about humans, but even he could not fully anticipate how they would respond to a direct military confrontation. The holographic displays in the Confederation's Central Command tracked the invasion fleet's progress with mechanical detachment. Initial communication attempts revealed the first hint of human unpredictability. Instead of fear or immediate military response, human communication networks responded with a complex blend of resistance, adaptation, and an almost incomprehensible sense of collective determination. Global communication systems began to reorganize in real time, creating communication pathways that seemed to emerge from pure collective intelligence. Military strategists watched in growing disbelief as human defensive systems defied every established invasion protocol. Traditional interstellar combat models suggested that a technologically superior force would quickly overwhelm planetary defenses. Humans seemed to be writing an entirely new strategy of resistance that combined technological innovation with a level of adaptive thinking that bordered on the impossible. Satellite networks became the first line of unexpected defense. Rather than being simple communication tools, they transformed into complex adaptive systems. When Krellnack's invasion protocols attempted to neutralize communication infrastructure, human networks simply redesigned themselves. Damaged systems were rapidly replaced. Communication channels were routed with a speed that suggested a form of collective technological intelligence. Ground-based defense systems demonstrated an equally remarkable approach. Military installations that should have been primary targets became decentralized networks of resistance. Each potentially vulnerable point became a hub of innovation. When traditional communication was compromised, local communities developed alternative coordination methods that completely undermined invasion strategies. The most surprising element emerged from human technological adaptation. Invasion ships found their most advanced targeting systems suddenly compromised. Computer networks that should have been easily breached began to develop adaptive algorithms in real time. What was meant to be a moment of technological vulnerability became a catalyst for unprecedented innovation. Global scientific communities responded with a level of coordination that defied traditional understanding of military response. Research institutions, technology developers, and academic centers began to collaborate in ways that transformed defensive capabilities. A breakthrough in quantum communication might emerge from a collaboration between a marine biologist and a computer engineer. Space-based defense systems revealed the true extent of human potential. Satellites were rapidly modified into defensive platforms. Existing communication infrastructure became a complex network of technological resistance. Each invasion attempt was met with a response that was less about direct confrontation and more about systemic adaptation. Economic systems demonstrated an equally remarkable resilience. Invasion strategies that should have created economic collapse instead became opportunities for collective reorganization. Local economic networks emerged, cryptocurrency platforms developed alternative transaction methods, and community-based economic solutions appeared with remarkable speed. Cultural response became another unexpected dimension of resistance. Where most species would fracture under invasion, human societies demonstrated an unprecedented level of collective determination. Different cultural groups, historical rivals, and seemingly disconnected communities found ways to collaborate with a speed and efficiency that completely confounded invasion strategies. Zarek's monitoring systems captured every moment of this extraordinary response. What should have been a moment of planetary vulnerability had transformed into the most comprehensive demonstration of collective human potential yet observed. The invasion was not just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into an opportunity for species-wide innovation. The Krellnack's leadership watched in growing disbelief. Invasion protocols that had successfully subjugated countless species were being systematically dismantled by a civilization that seemed to rewrite the very understanding of technological and social resistance. Each strategic approach was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive and transformative. As the first wave of invasion attempts began to falter, something extraordinary became clear. Humans were not just defending themselves. They were fundamentally reshaping the very understanding of interstellar conflict. Each moment of potential vulnerability became an opportunity for collective growth, for technological innovation, for a level of adaptive thinking that defied every established model of civilizational response. The confrontation had transformed from a potential conquest into something far more significant. This was not just a battle between two civilizations. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Galactic Confederation understood about intelligence, technological capability, and the potential for collective resistance. Zarek understood the profound implications. Humanity had done more than survive an invasion. They had demonstrated a form of collective intelligence that would reshape everything known about technological and social potential. The nature of the conflict underwent a profound metamorphosis that defied every established model of interstellar warfare. What began as a potential invasion had transformed into a complex dance of technological innovation, cultural adaptation, and collective intelligence that left the Galactic Confederation in a state of complete bewilderment. Zarek's research became the most critical document in understanding the unfolding phenomenon. Human response to the invasion was not a simple defensive strategy, but a comprehensive reimagining of conflict itself. Each moment of potential vulnerability became an opportunity for technological and social innovation that seemed to emerge from a collective consciousness beyond traditional understanding. Technological reverse engineering became the first unexpected front of this new form of conflict. Where most species would attempt to defend against alien technologies, humans began to systematically understand, adapt, and potentially improve upon the invasion technologies. Research centers around the globe began collaborative efforts that combined scientific expertise, cultural insights, and an unprecedented level of open-source innovation. Communication networks evolved into something far more complex than simple information exchange. What the Krellnaks had intended as invasion channels became platforms of cultural and technological dialogue. Humans began to decode alien communication systems, not just as a defensive measure, but as an opportunity for deeper understanding. Language barriers dissolved as collaborative translation efforts emerged from unexpected global communities. Military strategies demonstrated a level of adaptive thinking that completely challenged established galactic combat protocols. Traditional defensive approaches were replaced by dynamic, fluid systems of resistance. Each invasion attempt was met not just with direct confrontation, but with a multidimensional response that transformed the very nature of conflict. Economic systems revealed another layer of human adaptive capability. Invasion strategies designed to create economic collapse instead became catalysts for innovative economic models. Local economic networks emerged. Global cryptocurrency platforms developed alternative transaction methods, and community-based economic solutions appeared with remarkable speed and complexity. Scientific communities became unexpected centers of resistance. Research institutions that should have been vulnerable targets transformed into hubs of innovation. A breakthrough in quantum communication might emerge from a collaboration between a marine biologist, a theoretical physicist, and a cultural anthropologist. Disciplinary boundaries dissolved in the face of collective challenge. Space-based technologies underwent a remarkable transformation. Existing satellite networks were rapidly modified into complex defensive and communication platforms. What was once a simple communication infrastructure became a dynamic, adaptive system that could reorganize itself in real time. Each invasion attempt revealed new layers of human technological potential. Cultural response became a critical component of resistance. Different cultural groups, historical rivals, and seemingly disconnected communities found ways to collaborate with a speed and efficiency that completely confounded invasion strategies. The invasion became a catalyst for global unity, breaking down historical barriers in ways no diplomatic effort had ever achieved. Psychological warfare took on an entirely new dimension. Humans did not just resist the invasion. They began to systematically understand and potentially communicate with the invading civilization. Research teams developed innovative approaches to understanding alien psychology, communication systems, and technological frameworks. The conflict became a two-way process of mutual investigation and potential understanding. Technological innovation reached unprecedented levels. Existing technologies were rapidly modified, combined, and reimagined. A medical research breakthrough might suddenly become a critical component of space defense. An artistic visualization technique could provide insights into alien communication systems. The boundaries between disciplines became fluid and dynamic. Zarek's monitoring systems captured every moment of this extraordinary transformation. What should have been a moment of potential species-wide vulnerability had become the most comprehensive demonstration of collective human potential yet observed. The invasion was not just being resisted, it was being systematically transformed into an opportunity for species-wide growth and understanding. The Krellnack's leadership found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Invasion protocols that had successfully subjugated countless species were being systematically dismantled by a civilization that seemed to rewrite the very understanding of technological and social resistance. Each strategic approach was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive, investigative, and transformative. As the conflict continued, something extraordinary became increasingly clear. Humans were not just defending themselves or fighting an invasion. They were fundamentally reshaping the very understanding of interstellar interaction. Each moment of potential conflict became an opportunity for collective growth, for technological innovation, for a level of adaptive thinking that defied every established model of civilizational response. The confrontation had transformed from a potential conquest into something far more significant. This was not just a battle between two civilizations. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Galactic Confederation understood about intelligence, technological capability, and the potential for collective adaptation. Zarek understood the profound implications. Humanity had done more than survive an invasion. They had demonstrated a form of collective intelligence that would reshape everything known about technological and social potential, challenging the very foundations of how intelligent life was understood across the galaxy. The conflict had transcended its original boundaries, becoming something far more profound than a simple confrontation between two civilizations. What began as an invasion had transformed into a complex dialogue that would reshape the fundamental understanding of intelligence, cooperation, and collective potential across the galaxy. Zarek's research became the central document in understanding this unprecedented transformation. Humans had not just resisted the invasion. They had fundamentally challenged the existing galactic order. Other subjugated species began to take notice, seeing in humanity a model of resistance that went beyond traditional military confrontation. Communication networks across multiple star systems began to buzz with reports of human capabilities. Where most species would have been crushed by an advanced invasion force, humans had transformed the conflict into an opportunity for collective growth. Each moment of potential vulnerability became a catalyst for unprecedented innovation and collaboration. The most remarkable aspect emerged in how humans approached the potential conflict. They did not simply seek to defeat the invading civilization. Instead, they sought to understand, to communicate, to find potential common ground. Research teams developed innovative approaches to cross-species communication that went far beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. Technological innovation reached levels that seemed to defy conventional understanding. Existing technologies were rapidly modified, combined, and reimagined in ways that suggested a form of collective intelligence that transcended individual capabilities. A breakthrough in quantum communication might emerge from a collaboration between researchers from completely different scientific disciplines. Cultural responses demonstrated an equally extraordinary approach. Different human cultural groups, which had historically struggled to find common ground, now united with a sense of collective purpose that amazed external observers. Historical rivalries dissolved in the face of a larger challenge, creating a level of global unity that seemed almost impossible. The Galactic Confederation found itself in an unprecedented situation. Their most advanced invasion protocols had been systematically dismantled by a civilization that seemed to rewrite the very understanding of technological and social resistance. Each strategic approach was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive, investigative, and transformative. Scientific communities became unexpected centers of interspecies dialogue. Research institutions that should have been vulnerable targets transformed into hubs of innovative communication. Linguistic experts, computer scientists, cultural anthropologists, and communication specialists collaborated in ways that suggested a completely new approach to interspecies understanding. Economic systems revealed another layer of human adaptive capability. Invasion strategies designed to create economic collapse instead became catalysts for innovative economic models. Global economic networks emerged that demonstrated a level of flexibility and resilience that challenged every established understanding of economic interaction. Psychological approaches to conflict resolution reached unprecedented levels of sophistication. Humans did not just seek to defend themselves. They sought to understand the motivations, cultural contexts, and potential perspectives of the invading civilization. This approach transformed the conflict from a potential destruction into an opportunity for mutual understanding. Zarek's monitoring systems captured every moment of this extraordinary transformation. What should have been a moment of potential species-wide vulnerability had become the most comprehensive demonstration of collective human potential yet observed. The invasion was being systematically transformed into an opportunity for species-wide growth and understanding. Other subjugated species began to look to humanity as a potential model of resistance. The human approach suggested that conflict could be more than simple destruction. It could be an opportunity for communication, for understanding, for fundamental transformation of existing power structures. The most profound impact emerged in how humans approached the larger galactic context. They did not seek to replace the existing galactic order. Instead, they sought to transform it, to create a more collaborative, more dynamic approach to interspecies interaction. Their technological innovations, their approach to communication, their fundamental understanding of collective potential suggested a completely new model of galactic civilization. As the conflict continued to evolve, something extraordinary became increasingly clear. Humans were not just defending themselves or fighting an invasion. They were fundamentally reshaping the very understanding of interstellar interaction. Each moment of potential conflict became an opportunity for collective growth, for technological innovation, for a level of adaptive thinking that defied every established model of civilizational response. The confrontation had transformed from a potential conquest into something far more significant. This was not just a battle between two civilizations. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Galactic Confederation understood about intelligence, technological capability, and the potential for collective adaptation. Zarek understood the profound implications. Humanity had done more than survive an invasion. They had demonstrated a form of collective intelligence that would reshape everything known about technological and social potential, challenging the very foundations of how intelligent life was understood across the galaxy. The new galactic narrative was being written, and humanity was at its center, not through conquest, but through an unprecedented capacity for understanding, adaptation, and collective growth. The final resolution defied every established model of interstellar conflict. What had begun as a potential invasion had transformed into the most profound moment of galactic redefinition in recorded history. Humanity stood not as conquerors, but as architects of a completely new understanding of collective intelligence and interspecies cooperation. Zarek found himself at the center of this extraordinary transformation. His years of research had prepared him for many possibilities, but the actual unfolding of events surpassed even his most optimistic predictions. The junior xenoanalyst who had first noticed the unique potential of humans was now a key figure in establishing a new framework for galactic interaction. Diplomatic negotiations became a complex dance of cultural exchange, technological sharing, and mutual respect. Humans approached the process not as a victory to be celebrated, but as an opportunity for collective growth. Each negotiation session became a multi-layered exploration of potential collaboration, breaking down the rigid hierarchical structures that had defined galactic interactions for millennia. Technological exchange became the first true point of meaningful connection. Humans did not seek to dominate or control. Instead, they approached interspecies technology, sharing as a collaborative process. Scientific breakthroughs were viewed as collective achievements, transcending the boundaries of individual civilizations. Research centers became hubs of unprecedented interspecies cooperation. Cultural understanding emerged as a critical component of the new galactic framework. Humans demonstrated an extraordinary capacity to appreciate the unique characteristics of different species, where previous galactic interactions had been defined by conquest or rigid categorization. Humans introduced a model of mutual respect and collaborative potential. The Krellnack's leadership underwent a profound transformation. What had begun as a potential conquest had become a fundamental reassessment of their entire understanding of intelligent life. The rigid hierarchical structures that had defined their civilization for generations began to dissolve, replaced by a more flexible, adaptive approach to interspecies interaction. Economic systems were reimagined on a galactic scale. Humans introduced models of economic cooperation that went beyond traditional resource extraction and competition. Collaborative economic platforms emerged that allowed different species to share resources, technologies, and opportunities in ways that had never been conceived before. Scientific collaboration reached unprecedented levels of sophistication. Research teams that combined experts from multiple species began to tackle challenges that had seemed insurmountable. Breakthroughs in medical science, environmental restoration, and technological innovation emerged from these collaborative efforts. The most profound transformation occurred in how civilizations understood themselves. Humans had demonstrated that intelligence was not about technological superiority or military might. It was about adaptability, collective potential, and the capacity for mutual understanding. Other species began to reevaluate their own approaches to development, cooperation, and progress. Zarek's comprehensive research became a foundational document in understanding this new galactic paradigm. His early observations about human potential had been more than just academic curiosity. They had been a glimpse into a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent life could interact and evolve. Communication networks transformed into platforms of genuine interspecies dialogue. Language barriers dissolved as collaborative translation technologies emerged. What had once been seen as fundamental differences between species became opportunities for mutual understanding and collective growth. The physical structures of galactic civilization began to change. Centralized power systems gave way to more dynamic, collaborative networks. Species that had been previously subjugated found new opportunities for self-determination and collective development. The rigid boundaries that had defined galactic interactions for generations began to dissolve. Humans did not seek to replace existing power structures. Instead, they introduced a model of interaction based on mutual respect, collaborative potential, and collective growth. Their approach suggested that true progress came not from domination, but from understanding, from the ability to see potential where others saw only difference. The transformation went beyond simple technological or political change. It was a fundamental reimagining of what intelligent life could be. Species began to see themselves not as isolated entities, but as part of a larger, interconnected galactic ecosystem of potential and possibility. Zarek reflected on the extraordinary journey. From a simple data stream that had caught his attention to a fundamental transformation of galactic civilization, the story of human potential had become the most significant chapter in the understanding of intelligent life. The final diplomatic sessions became a celebration of collective potential. Representatives from multiple species came together, not as conquerors or competitors, but as collaborative partners in a shared journey of discovery and growth. Humans had done more than survive an invasion. They had introduced a new model of galactic civilization. As the new galactic framework took shape, something extraordinary became clear. This was not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had demonstrated that true progress came from understanding, from the capacity to see potential where others saw only limitation. The universe watched and waited, forever changed by the extraordinary potential of a species that had rewritten everything known about intelligence, cooperation, and the fundamental nature of collective growth.